Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting of the Board of Ethics and Campaign Practices for the City of Albuquerque to order. We have a limited agenda today, so the very first thing is let me ask for a approval of our agenda for today. Is there a motion to approve our agenda?
I'll move to approve.
Great. And a second?
A second.
If there's no discussion, all those in favor of approving today's agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the agenda is approved. We only have one item on today's agenda, and that is consideration of a proposed advisory opinion. I just want to take 1 minute to explain the process for this board to issue an advisory opinion, and then we can turn to the recommended advisory opinion. Section 5 of our rules and regulations permits an official, and in our rules, an official is defined as any candidate, to request an advisory opinion from the board. The rules then set forth a fairly detailed procedure for us to follow with regard to the issuance of an advisory opinion. First, the official who is requesting an advisory opinion has to do so in writing on a form that's been approved by the city clerk. The request is then reviewed by a subcommittee of the board, and under our rules, that subcommittee is comprised of the chair, the vice chair, and a third member designated by the chair. The subcommittee is then instructed to confer and prepare a recommendation to be considered by the entire board. The rules are also very specific that the request must remain confidential until the request and the recommendations are heard by the full board at a public meeting. The official requesting the advisory opinion is entitled to attend the board meeting, and the board may request additional information or may ask the official to answer questions and provide any background that the board might want. For purposes of today, the board has the discretion either to accept the recommendation, reject the recommendation, or modify the recommended advisory opinion submitted by the subcommittee. With regard to the specific matter on today's agenda, which is AO01 2017, the request was made by an official, and that official was Mr. Keller, who's running for mayor. The request was made in writing on the proper form prepared by the city clerk. I then constituted a subcommittee. That subcommittee consisted of myself, Member Throckmorton, and Member Van Lucian. We considered the request, we conferred, and we prepared and submitted a recommended advisory opinion for consideration by the full board. That advisory opinion was circulated to all members of the board before today's meeting with an instruction that it be kept in confidence until consideration by today's meeting. So each of you have received the recommended advisory opinion, and I will read the question presented for the advisory opinion, and that is whether a participating candidate involved in a runoff election is entitled to receive in-kind contributions during the runoff period. The subcommittee's proposed answer to that question is no. A participating candidate may accept in-kind contributions only from the beginning of the exploratory period up to the regular municipal election, regular as contrasted to runoff. So you all have the discussion for the proposed advisory opinion. So to start off our discussion, let me ask if there is a motion with regard to the recommended advisory opinion.
Excuse me. I move that we accept the advisory opinion.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, there's a second. Let me open the floor for discussion about our proposed advisory opinion.
I have a question. If a candidate were to violate this opinion, or there was no opinion and they went ahead and accepted the in-kind contributions after the regular election, what code under the election ordinance would they be violating?
Well, that's a very good question, but I think it's a hypothetical, so my hypothetical answer would be the same sections that are set forth in the discussion section. I think the board's analysis would be the same, that it would be Article 16, Section 6E, which sets forth when in-kind contributions can be accepted, and then the board would need to go through the same type of analysis, looking at how regular municipal election is defined and whether that is different than a runoff election. That would be my sense of the analysis that we would undertake. I don't believe it would be any different than set forth here. And if the advisory opinion were never issued, but a candidate continued to accept in-kind contributions after that time, then I believe the board would also be faced with what would be the appropriate sanction within the parameters set forth in our rules and regulations. I don't know if any other board member has a different thought on that.
Well, I would agree with that analysis. I think participating candidates are limited in the amount and types of contributions that they can receive, and in this case, the candidate is a participating candidate, and under our analysis cannot accept in-kind contributions during the runoff election.
Are there any other questions or comments with regard to the recommended advisory opinion?
My question is, the candidates that are in the runoff election, will they be notified in writing of whatever decision we make here?
That's another good question. My understanding from our rules is once we approve the advisory opinion, the official, in this case Mr. Keller, will be notified in writing. He'll receive a copy of our advisory opinion, and in addition, the rules require that the city clerk keep a copy of all of the written opinions in a separate file within her office. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. There isn't a requirement that we provide our advisory opinion to all candidates, simply to the requesting official.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I think that I would provide it to there's only one other candidate running publicly financed, and I could forward that as well to that candidate so they're clear. Sure.
Out of abundance of caution, I'd rather do that than not. So thank you for that. Mr. Throckmorton did notice two typos in our proposed advisory opinion, neither one of which changed the substance, but let me just tell you what those were. Under the question presented section, we would be inserting the word "in," so it would read whether a participating candidate involved in a runoff election. And under the discussion section in the second line, it's inserting the word "the," so that that line would read financing in the manner set forth in the Open and Elections Code. Are there any other proposed revisions or alterations to the proposed advisory opinion? Okay. In that case, seeing no other discussion, I'm going to go ahead and call the question. It's been moved and seconded that the full board approve the recommended advisory opinion with the two grammatical alterations. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Then the proposed advisory opinion in AO 01-2017 will be approved. I'll prepare the revised advisory opinion to include those two additional words, and we'll submit it back to the clerk later today. We have no other business on today's agenda, and so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to adjourn.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of adjourning indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. There are no opposed. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.